Story 1. You need to start applying lotion to your chest and neck because you are starting to get wrinkles. I am only telling you this because if I were you, I would want to know. People will notice, and I would be embarrassed if I were you. I was 24 years old without a wrinkle in sight. He was heavily overweight and covered in stretch marks. Another time, I told him he was not being a very good person. He said, "You say that like you think I am trying to be. I'm so glad I left." Story 2. Who is going to marry you now? What does your life even look like without me? A great deal better, I am happy to say. Story 3. You will love that baby more than me. This was about a week after finding out I was pregnant. He made a few other concerning comments over the next couple of weeks, along with his escalating abusive behavior. I left him when I was 3 months pregnant and never went back. Story 4. I commented with a joke answer as well, but here is my real answer. I have struggled with depression since childhood and, regrettably, attempted to take my life as a teenager. In my early 20s, I lived with a now ex-girlfriend who knew about this. After our relationship soured, there was one night when things seemed better. I came home from work, we hung out, and had some drinks. Throughout the night, I realized she was actively trying to get me very drunk. Suddenly, she dropped the facade of being in a good mood and tried to convince me to go for a drive by myself. She put my keys in my hand and tried to walk me to my car. I refused, and she broke down in angry tears, begging me to kill myself. When she realized it was not happening, she said, "It will happen one day. You can lie to yourself and say you are better now, but one day you will end up a lump on the floor like you have always known you would." Story 5. She said it to me during a mental breakdown when I found out she was cheating with her boss and gym partner. She then convinced me she never said that I was crazy, and that I needed to institutionalize myself. 3 months later, after prescriptions I did not need and hundreds of hours of therapy, she admitted she lied because she felt bad after saying it. Thanks for the debt and the added trauma. Story 6. After enduring a long stretch of indifferent and insulting behavior, I asked him to say one nice thing about me. He replied, "You don't sweat much for an overweight girl." Story 7. He told me I am low-key ugly when the sun hits me, and I have been self-conscious about it ever since. My boyfriend now looks at me when the sun is on my face and tells me I am the most beautiful woman ever. I just want to cry thinking about it, but I did improve, so forget him. He would not stand a chance now. I just accepted anyone back then, so I do not even know why it is still on my mind. Story 8. My ex called me a child molester in court and said I would kill my children if they came to live with me. This was after she abducted the children, and I suspect her then boyfriend had sexually assaulted my daughter. I left the court with my children after the child psychologist who interviewed everyone said there was no evidence of me abusing the children and suspected that my ex would harm them if they went with her. The children have not seen her since the day after the court hearing 10 years ago. Story 9. To be honest, your breasts are quite small, but don't worry, they work for me. Why are your nipples brown when you have a bright face? I want to ruin you for everyone else so you end up with me. Does your mood really matter? It's just oral sex. You can be upset with me and perform oral sex at the same time. I am storing my ex's nude photos because she is dating a man who threatened me, and I need evidence in case I need to defend myself. Story 10. I cannot assist with that request. Story 11. It's not something that I think about or that hurts me today, but something upsetting was, I'm a breast guy, but I still love you anyway. I have small breasts. It certainly affected my self-esteem at the time. Story 12. You will end up alone. I told her that it was my biggest fear, and she threw it back at me during our last fight. It hits really hard when it is said out loud rather than just thought about. Story 13. After I could no longer forgive him for cheating on me repeatedly, he told me I deserved to be cheated on because I was a bad partner and that anyone I ended up with would cheat on me. Story 14. I was 19 at the time, and my then wife was also 19. We had been married at 18. I worked over 60 hours a week, making $13 an hour. She had a part-time job making about $8 an hour. I was able to get a good deal on my first house but had to work many hours to afford it and have anything extra. One day, I came home from work early and found her in bed with another man. I almost lost control but decided it was not worth it. Later, when I asked why she cheated, she said, "He has a lot of money and works fewer hours." This affected me deeply. I learned everything I could about my trade and mastered all aspects of mechanical, electrical, and welding work. I am now 33, married to a wonderful woman, and have 3 children. I am currently a branch manager for a crane company, earning $150,000 a year plus bonuses. My ex still works part-time jobs, has had 3 husbands besides me, and lives in our old house, which is now beat up and run down since she received it in the divorce. Story 15. She told me I was too nice to her after I had just driven 6 hours only to catch her with another man in his car in her dorm parking lot. What does that even mean? I still get angry about that because it makes no sense. The story is below if you are interested. I was out of town visiting family. She called me on Friday morning crying because she said she missed me, needed me, and couldn't wait another week to see me. I eventually got her to calm down and promised I would be back in a few days and she would have all of my time when I returned. Her crying stayed with me, and I felt horrible about it. So I grabbed a few things and hit the road to surprise her for the weekend. It was a 6-hour drive, and I went straight to her dorm on campus. My brother was hanging out with one of her friends, so my plan was for them to get her to come out and I would surprise her. But she wasn't in her room and was not answering her phone. I told them not to worry and that I would catch her when she got back, thinking she went to grab food or something. I parked in the back of the parking lot in a dark spot in front of her dorm so she would not see my car when she came back. About 15 minutes went by, and I saw her car pull into the parking lot. She usually parked in the same spot or one close to it. This time she went to the other side of the parking lot. Then another car pulled up, she got in, and they parked one row in front of where I was. At this point, I knew what it was, but I hoped I was wrong. I sat there for about 10 minutes telling myself it was not what it looked like before I got out and started walking toward the car. I could see clearly that she was mostly naked in the back seat with another man. I stopped and just went back to my car. When they were finished, he pulled up to the front of the dorm to drop her off, so I pulled up behind them just as they were leaning in for a kiss. She freaked out when she realized it was me, and he jumped in his car and took off. I got out and sat on my hood. She tried to run up and hug me. I told her not to touch me, and then I asked her why. She started crying and said I treat her so well and that I am too nice to her. I didn't let her say anything else and just got in my car and drove all the way back. Story 16. You're not a 10, but you're the best I'll get. This one haunts me to my core. He was my first boyfriend, and this was brought up when he was stalking his ideal girl, Sophia Diamond. I asked if, even though I didn't look like her, he still found me attractive. Story 17. All the things he said about my physique and personality. He was obsessed with the idea of making me follow diets and workout routines, with the excuse that everyone must reach their best potential. Story 18. My father, who sexually abused me, and my ex-boyfriend, whom she had not gotten over, both abused me and were more of a man than you. I told her it was not going to work out, and that is what happened. Story 19:1. I asked him why he did not want a divorce, thinking he would say, "Because I love you," or something similar. He responded, "Because nobody else will ever want me." When asked what he liked about me physically during couples therapy, he paused to think and said, "She is small, so she is nice to hold." However, he hated holding me because it always made him hot, so I knew it was not true. Story 20. So what if I cheated on you? You are never going to leave. I am the best you will ever get. I did, in fact, leave. Every subsequent relationship has been infinitely better. The words still haunt me, though. Story 21. When my ex told me that maybe my coordination disability was just all in my head, it is because of a cyst and surgeries. Story 22. Not my ex, but his mother. I told her repeatedly that I have a tree nut allergy. Pistachios, almonds, walnuts, all of those. Any nut except peanut is dangerous for me. But every time I was at her house, she incorporated nuts into the meal. Nuts in the salad, almond flour breaded chicken every time. Then she would get mad at me for not eating. Story 23. We can never be more, but we can never just be friends. Also known as he wanted us to be friends with benefits. At the end of the day, you're the girl that guys meet right before they meet the one. Said to me by the same ex on and off for years. The last time he reached out looking to reconnect, I sent him a photo of my engagement ring and then blocked him. I am now married to a man who repeatedly calls me the one and the love of his life. Story 24. He left me for a younger woman after 18 years together. He said, "You would like her. She reminds me of you." Story 25. I have a disability, and at the time it had been a while since I had worked, so getting a job was difficult. I told my ex I was looking into getting a job at Chick-fil-A. He told me, "Not even they would hire you." That hurt me in a way I can't describe. I have worked before. I built circuit boards at my first job, which ended due to financial issues. Then I worked at a movie theater for my second job, but COVID happened. Took a while to get back on my feet, but I now work at an aquarium. Being told that absolutely shattered me, so the fact that I was hired on the spot at the aquarium made me very happy to be working again. Story 26. I had a traumatic birth with my last baby. Number 4, all with the same father. The day after we got home from the hospital, he said he wished I had just died instead. Story 27. My therapist said it is entirely normal to have fantasies that I want to act on about harming you while you are asleep. I do not think I slept properly again until we broke up. Story 28. I was admitted to the hospital for a suicide attempt. I was only there 72 hours, but she never visited or called. We had been together 10 years at that point. She said, "I was seeing what life would be like without you. I will never be with someone who values me so little ever again." Story 29. Not said, did. We were in Texas in the summer on a backroad highway. I am from the Northeast, so I am not sure if it's all the same out there. There was a beagle dog walking down the road, clearly abandoned or lost. It was over 100 degrees, and I could not get him to stop. He would not let me get the dog, and he would not slow down enough for me to even jump out. I hate myself every day for not fighting harder. I still think about that dog. I hope something miraculous happened and he is okay. I hate that man. Story 30. After my Lyme disease doctor told us I could have no stress during extensive intravenous treatments, he advised my husband to stay at home for a while to help out instead of traveling with his job. The next morning, I was told, "I thought I loved you. I loved my ex, but I don't think I've ever loved you. We were together for 22 years. Story 31. You were a one-night stand that went too far. We were married. The guy had no prospects before my non-standard self came along. Just because a guy doesn't have much going on doesn't mean he wants something different. You aren't opening up a new life of love, companionship, and prosperity for them. They were living the life they chose. Leave them where you find them." Story 32. I wouldn't have gotten back with you if I had known you hadn't gotten over it. His betrayal was immeasurable and traumatizing. What does he mean? Story 33. I only told you those things to get you to marry me. I do not believe in any of it and will not fulfill any of those promises. On the honeymoon, why? What was the point of the time, effort, and expense of the courtship and wedding? We both knew we were going to split up after that. Story 34. You are a miserable human being, said one ex. It was mostly a situationship. I left him because our relationship was toxic. He scribbled on the gift I gave him and put it in my mailbox with this message. Have you ever thought about being quiet for once? Said another ex. He hit me in the face during sex while we were arguing about it. He said, I'm sorry, I thought you liked it. And I responded, well, you should have asked me. That was his reply. Story 35. I was crying about my mother being deceased. He placed a box of contraceptives in front of me, asking if I was in the mood. Story 36. You weren't the same girl I fell for. Maybe if he had stood up for me against all the abuse his mother subjected me to, I wouldn't be so sad by the end of our relationship. Joke's on him. He is now the sad person his mother always wanted him to be, always on a leash tied to his mother. I dodged a major bullet when he told mutual friends I am the one who got away. Story 37. When I was trying to get into a good school that required a difficult entrance exam, he said, "It's just too hard. You can't do it." He just wanted to keep me stuck in his own misery. Story 38. Why are you always ruining my life? This was on our honeymoon. Safe to say it did not last much longer after that. Story 39. You were great, but the standard was low. You are still single because God is protecting other people from you. Thank you. I am sure the last 5 of us are the problem, not you. Story 40. I was 14 years old, and he was 17 years old. He got away with 3 grape charges. He also cheated on me with 2 12-year-olds. Story 41. Your body, your choice. But I want nothing to do with it. You were on the pill for a reason. The same guy who dumped me the day before a job interview but then decided to give me a key to his flat. I probably should have seen the massive red flag of where his previous partner tried to commit suicide. But thankfully, that train wreck is someone else's problem. When my now husband found out I was pregnant, I couldn't have felt more loved. Story 42. When I found out he was cheating and asked him why, he explained that if a girl like that could be interested in a guy like him, could I really blame him for being curious enough to end our 6-year marriage? Story 43. When I tried to kiss him and he pushed me away, he laughed. What? You really thought things would change after the wedding? He had a nasty habit of withdrawing affection to express his displeasure with something I did or did not do. I had completely bought into the whole obedient wife idea since the wedding and thought he would stop punishing me if I just kept him happy. Story 44. I was getting ready in the morning, listening to music and doing a silly dance while naked. She said, "I can't believe you are proud of your body." Story 45. 2 examples. Example 1. I liked it better when you were fat because no one else paid any attention to you. I think about it any time my weight noticeably changes. It is a big, ugly root in my self-esteem issues. Example 2. I do not want to be with you anymore, but I do not know who will take care of me. We divorced 6 years ago. She has blocked me on everything. I occasionally check public records to see if she is still alive. There was more than one occasion in our marriage where I was the only thing physically stopping her from killing herself. Story 46. Nothing. They are my ex. They may have said harsh things at the end, but they do not get to live in my head rent-free. Story 47. We had just gotten back together. She cheated on me about a week or 2 later with her ex. I was out of town at the time and we were on the phone. I was beside myself. She said to me, "It's okay. It's okay. God will forgive me." I cannot describe the rage I felt after hearing that. I lost it. Story 48. Yeah, I could put you on a diet. You could lose 10 pounds. My back hurt a lot too when I was bigger. I am 5 feet 3 inches tall and weigh 125 pounds. Story 49. I lost both of my parents to drug addiction before I was 13 years old. In a way, you are lucky. Story 50. When I fell into anorexia and told him, I even stopped eating Nutella. It was my favorite food back then. He replied, "Good. It's better that way," because he thought I was too fat. I was really thin already and barely eating. I was still at the point in my eating disorder where I realized it was wrong to starve myself and that I should stop. Him saying that it was good I stopped eating Nutella just made me spiral because it confirmed that what I was doing to my body was good. Story 51. You should smile more because you look unfriendly when you do not. I was a shy person, not unfriendly. I always wondered if I should go around with a fake clown smile on my face all the time. Story 52. I had a suicide attempt in high school. I started dating a girl after graduating. She knew my history. Every time we fought, she would remind me that I was crazy because I had tried to kill myself. One day we were fighting and she brought it up again. I grabbed a steak knife and said maybe I should kill myself. Her eyes narrowed, and she hissed, "Do it." I put the knife down, walked away, and she screamed. Story 53. My biggest regret is not coming inside you. Okay. My biggest regret is ever letting you touch me in the first place. Story 54. Angrily. It feels like you are missing something that everyone else was taught. Later, I found out I have autism. Story 55. You are just so trusting, followed by a chuckle. I have found out about the extent of lying. I will probably never know everything. Story 56. My father passed away when I was 16. He was a severe alcoholic, but his heart was made of pure gold. He put everyone before himself. My ex was self-proclaimed religious and was against anything cool. No drinking or tattoos. Sex was rare and terrible. She thought she was better than everyone. She really just suffered from anxiety and depression. Several years after my father passed away, I considered getting a picture of him tattooed on my back. I do not remember exactly what she said, but I will never forget the way it made me feel. She asked me why I would get that alcoholic's picture tattooed on my back. I was glad when that relationship was over, and I got a large picture of my dad tattooed on my back anyway. Story 57. If you try to leave right now, I will throw myself into the wall so hard I will break it and hurt myself. Then I will slam my head into the mirror and bleed all over this house. After that, I will call the police and tell them you did all of this to me. Who are they going to believe? You at 6 feet 8 inches or me, bloodied and broken in the corner, sobbing through my blood at 5 feet 2 inches. Make your choice. I still think about that situation sometimes. Story 58. You are the only man who ever loved me and treated me right, and I destroyed us. I just want her to get better and be okay, even happy, without hoping we will get back together and that she will not be abused again like her other exes. Story 59. Let's have one last drink for old times. The drink had rat poison in it. I refused because it smelled strange and proceeded to leave. I called the police as soon as I got to my car and then contacted her roommates to let them know what happened. She was found and taken to the hospital. I do not know what happened to her afterward, but I heard she entered psychiatric care. Later, her roommates informed me that when her room was being cleaned out, they found a bunch of my belongings she had stolen in her closet, along with several old used condoms. Story 60. There are not a lot of people who would put up with this, you know that, right? He said that to me as I was in his arms, reeling from a panic attack. I unfortunately experienced childhood sexual abuse and have complex post-traumatic stress disorder because of it and was not fully aware until my first in real-life sexual experience. Terrifying. I was 15. He was wrong, though. Apparently, many more people are willing to deal with it than you would think. I have had a wonderful partner for 7 years this coming August, and we will be getting married in November. He has always known I experience panic attacks and struggle with several disorders. And he loves me as I am. He has never once made me feel any type of way because of my issues. Story 61. That I wouldn't be a good mother or that I would be abusive like our own mothers were. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but there were multiple times that sentiment came up whenever children were discussed, which was frequently because I had always wanted children. There was a 10-year age gap. We met when I was 19, and I had always told him I wanted children, from when we were just friends. It was such an awful thing to use against me. I'm 25 now. I left him last year and have been much better off for it. Whether or not I want children and whether I would be capable of raising them in the positive way they deserve is something I now doubt. I don't want my children to ever feel how I did as a child, and he has really planted the seed that my now well-managed mental health issues would mean I absolutely would make any potential future children feel that way. Ben, I hope your time playing video games and sharing a bed with your best friend in his mother's house is enjoyable because, until you undergo a major personality shift, that is the best life will offer you. Story 62. I think you like being depressed. You are difficult to love. I was hoping you could just be okay with it after cheating on me with a friend we had been fooling around with consensually together. Story 63. I think I wrote this somewhere already, but I had a guy hit on me for a month or so, thinking I would agree and get involved. When that didn't happen and I told him I see him just as a friend, he said, "But your breasts are small." Confused, I just left it at that. Later on, I realized he thought he was in my league because of what he perceived as a fault. Dude, even if I were without legs and hands, I would never date you. Story 64. You are the most entitled person I have ever known who has been handed everything in life. If I had any self-respect, I would not be with you. Story 65. It's humiliating being seen with you. I was overweight at the time, and despite his balding head, beer gut, and scrawny legs, he deserved better. I left him and lost weight. Years later, he asked if I would want to go out sometime. I laughed in his face and said, "Never." Story 66. You are an antisocial crybaby. I was about 17 when we finally broke up, and he said that to me. It hurt. Story 67. I can't remember anything bad my former spouse said except good things early in our 12 to 13-year relationship. Those were fun times. Story 68. I will never be happy in my life. I think about it most of the time and keep my head up even in my toughest times. Story 69. I am not here to babysit children. This is after I had asked him to watch our 4-year-old and 1-year-old while I ran to Publix. Story 70. I bet if we break up you'll be back for the sex. I never came back. The sex wasn't even great, and I never orgasmed. One day, I packed my stuff and left in the morning while he was asleep. I broke up via text because I didn't want to be bothered by his excuses for never changing. I blocked him. We never spoke again. Story 71. My wife at the time and I were separated, and I was begging her to come back to the marriage. When she finally made the choice to do so, her friends asked her why. Her response was, "I don't really have a whole lot of other options right now, so I'll just do what I have to do until something else comes along." Sadly, it took 8 more years for something better to come along. But the last 4 years of my life have been so much better since that happened. Story 72. Recently broke up with my girlfriend of 7.5 years. She was struggling with significant mental illness, and I tried as much as I could to help her get assistance, but I couldn't. It was endangering me financially, and the stress was overwhelming. I dreaded coming home from work each day to see what the situation would be. One night, her family took her to a mental health facility, and she was involuntarily committed for 2 weeks. The first message she sent after being discharged said, "You did this to me, and I will never forgive you." It hurts deeply because I know her mental illness was not her fault, and I still love the person she was. I know I did everything I could to try to help and continue to care, but now she hates me. Story 73. Probably why you do not have any friends, because you like horror movies. You are lucky you have me because anyone else would leave you. You need a different laugh. What have you ever done for me? He had been living at my house rent-free for 7 years without attempting to look for a job. Yes, this was all from the same person. Story 74. I had gained some weight and asked him if he was still attracted to me. He said, "I don't like girls with big arms." We had been together for 3 years at that point. As a curvy woman, I am still very self-conscious about my arms. Even though we broke up 10 years ago, still hurts and stays with me. Story 75. Yes, you are right. But later I will deny it and then manipulate you about it while sort of giggling. Story 76. You're 52% like my ex. Huh, you're thinner with your clothes off. If you are that mentally ill, you should be institutionalized for life. 52% is just so specific. He really was doing the math. The second sentence echoes in my head anytime I try to dress nice. As for the last, he had been chipping away at my mental health and exacerbating my complex post-traumatic stress disorder for 2 years. I was having a meltdown because I always felt awful, barely had the energy to exist, and couldn't remember things from day to day. So, I was exhibiting the normal side effects of extended mental and emotional abuse, repeatedly being sexually assaulted while having complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I am doing better now, but it has taken a lot of work. Story 77. After taking me to a party to meet some of his old friends he reconnected with, he said, "I can't believe they actually liked you." Story 78. I hope you are happy now. Our daughter had just been taken to a psychiatric hospital by the police after months of me begging him to approve psychiatric treatment for her. Story 79. I was 16 when he said, "You are too fat and ugly to find anyone else who would love you." I have never been able to look at myself in a mirror and think I was beautiful. I have also never been happy with my body. That was 28 years ago, and I still remember where we were, his face, his voice, and that feeling. I ended the relationship and dated someone else, who I am still with 26 years later, married for 21 years with 2 children and a beautiful life. His voice haunts me to this day. Story 80. You are useless to me without a salary, was said during couples counseling while I was going through another health crisis. I was on short-term disability and receiving 60% of my pay. Story 81. I was suicidal and finally opened up to her about it and how I felt alone. That very night she was drunk and said, "You're right. No one loves you. Just do it." During an argument. Story 82. You're a shell of a person, he said when I was deeply depressed while being a stay-at-home mother to our 2 daughters. He is an ex for a reason. Story 83. You are probably going to cheat on every man you meet just like your mother did to your father. I was 14. Story 84. Remember when we first met and you were wearing a blue hoodie with the hood up? He giggled to himself and said, "Yuck," then continued to laugh like it was the funniest thing ever. Could have also been nervous laughter. This one isn't word for word, but it was like, I'm trying to figure out if you're pretty or not. Story 85. You are everything I want and perfect in every way, but I do not love you and I never will. I spent over 2 years trying to prove my love and commitment to someone who was incredibly insecure, and this is what I got in return. Story 86. This happens only because of your behavior. You should have been disciplined more often when you were a child to learn. My father and grandfather never touched me or hit me in my entire life. Story 87. It is not what he said. It is what he did not say. It is the ignorance and immaturity in failing to apologize that haunted me. Story 88. He looked at me and told me that he wanted to harm me by restricting my breathing with his hands and then place my body into a ditch. My ex and I were driving to the mall with our 2 toddlers in the back when this happened. We were having an argument because he was a controlling, narcissistic abuser. He got very angry and suddenly pulled to the side of the road. My first instinct was to jump out of the car, but I did not because my 2 daughters were in the car, and I was afraid he would drive away and hurt them to hurt me. Story 89. If you break up with me, you will be alone forever. No one else will ever love you. I think about that one a lot. Manipulative, I know. But this was 10 years ago, and I have not been in another lasting relationship since then. An honorable mention. My life would be so much better if you were dead. This one sounds worse than the first, but they were abusive, so it did not hurt as much. Story 90. It is a tie between it was 70% his fault, 20% her fault, and 10% your fault when referring to my friend and I being raped, and I am going to kill myself in front of you so you have to live with that for the rest of your life. Story 91. You will never be happy. Luckily, he was wrong. What was actually true was that I would never be happy with him. Story 92. When we were breaking up and he was trying to stop it from happening, he said, I promise no more double standards, no more lessons. He had never mentioned double standards or lessons to me before. It was like a window into his mind suddenly opened. I knew in that moment that all the abusive things he had said and done to me for years were by conscious, intentional choice. It was one of the most horrifying and freeing moments of my life at the same time. Story 93. I breathed too loud and I walked too loud. When I said that was not something I could change, he said, you were not trying hard enough. I still find myself trying to tiptoe sometimes or subconsciously hold my breath when I am near someone. He also blamed my mental health for any issues we were having. I am thankful that I got out, but angry that it took me 3 years. Story 94. Picking me up at the airport, dropping me off at my hotel, and then leaving, spending no time with me after I flew there to see her. The song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, is something I can truly relate to. Story 95. You're the woman every guy dreams of. I just don't see myself with you. Like, what does that even mean, homie? Story 96. You don't look good with a hat on, only a toque. It would be easier if you had a doctor. Story 97. Have another? Why don't you? Yeah, I know I showed up to dinner tipsy, Kayla, but 15 years later, that still rings in my head every time I think about drinking again. Story 98, you were stupid. I was incredibly intelligent, and amidst all the extremely bad abuse, he used to scream repeatedly that I was stupid, which I was not, until I stopped and agreed. I have endured extreme abuse from many people, and for some reason, the constant calling me stupid deeply affected me. He had no qualifications other than in psychopathic manipulation. I was extremely gifted and had amazing grades despite my difficult upbringing and being constantly told I was awful. Story 99. Not nearly as hurtful as some of the other responses, but a boyfriend broke up with me because he said I was too self-absorbed to put in the time necessary to develop any kind of actual relationship with another person, let alone a serious romantic relationship. I figured he was right because I spend a lot of time on school and work. I still spend way too much time on work, and I guess it's a good thing my current boyfriend is the same way and that we like eating late dinners together. Story 100. Better not get attached because no one will stay with you for a long time. That was my former partner. Now, I have been very blindsided by a breakup after a 3-year relationship, and the previous partner's words are hitting hard in my low self-esteem. Negative thinking makes me wonder if I can just pretend for long enough before they see who I truly am and give up. Story 101. I love you, but not the same way you love me. And then suddenly I was ghosted. This still wakes me up from time to time. Story 102. If I catch you cheating on me, I will kill him, I will kill you, then I will kill myself. This was whispered in my ear while we were lying in bed and I was 6 months pregnant. I still get shivers down my spine when I think about it. Story 103. You will never do better than me. It was ultimately false, but it stuck with me for more than a few years and affected my self-esteem. Story 104. The reason we don't have any friends is because you are a terrible person. It turned out that no one wanted to come to the house or get close to us because she was involved with many people while I was at work. Story 105. First husband. You are a dishonest and immoral person. There is no such thing as rape. Second husband. You are the heaviest girl I have ever dated. I was a size 10. Story 106. You think you meant something to me, please. You are just someone to be with while I wait for something better that comes along. I had just told him how much I really liked him and wanted to know if we could be exclusive. I spent years trying to be someone who meant something to someone. Technically, I still am. Story 107. I was molested when I was a kid. I was so young that I don't exactly remember how old I was, just that I must have been younger than 12. I didn't even realize back then that what was happening was wrong. He was supportive at first, but once, when I was having a rough time, we weren't fighting. I was just struggling with mental health issues and he didn't like being bothered. He told me that I probably wanted it because I didn't fight him. It doesn't haunt me because I no longer blame myself for it. I have it all sorted out in my head now. I just hate that I shared something like that with him. He was the first and only one to know. Anyway, you all know now. Story 108. After she finished laying hands on me, she told me, I will continue to cheat on you, and every other girlfriend you have after me will cheat on you. That deeply affected me. Many other things have been said that I could add to that list. Story 109. I could say anything and have your friends believe me. When I finally managed to free myself from her, I lost a few friends. I don't know what she said. I'm sure it's not pleasant and I honestly don't care. Says more about them than me. Funny though, they sold themselves as the let's care about everyone crowd. Massive respect to those who kept in contact. Story 110. I don't know if I'm still in love with you. You were too skinny before when I said I was bothered by my medication making me gain weight. Story 111. He would make me cry, and then it would turn him on. He never admitted it, but it was like clockwork. I still feel disgusted crying in front of men just because who knows who else is like that. Story 112. That my illness was in my head. He shamed me for the research I had done and the test I ordered online that came back positive. I am hooked to an intravenous infusion and getting the medical help I need as we speak. He watched me get sicker and did not believe me when I found answers. I am better now because that test saved my life. I am still fighting and have a ways to go, but that comment hurt, and he can go away. Story 113. How can you be kind to others when you cannot be kind to yourself? I did not realize how self-critical I was until that point and how that had been affecting the ones I loved. Story 114. I realized he had been sexually assaulting me in my sleep for weeks, and his response was, well, you weren't fulfilling your duties as a girlfriend while awake. What did you expect me to do? I had just started my new job in the city and was falling asleep early due to my long commute. Instead of offering understanding, he decided that assaulting me was his response. Story 115. Me, you just kept taking from me. Them, well, it's not my fault you had no boundaries. New partner, when I told them this conversation, that response makes me think they knew exactly what they were doing, and you don't do that to someone you love. Story 116. My ex-husband admitted years after we separated that, through therapy, he realized he never loved me the way one should. He only liked the idea of not being alone. We have a child together. We only got married because of his parents. It has greatly affected the way I view relationships. Story 117. If we divorce, you will never find another man because you are too sick in your mind to live with. We were married for 14 years when he said that. Story 118. At the end of our marriage, he wanted to know why. I asked him if he thought I would let him treat me the way he did for the rest of my life. He cheated, was emotionally and verbally abusive, incredibly stingy, and always paid bills at the last minute, which incurred late charges. That kind of behavior lasted 15 years, but the last 7 years were hell for our 4 children and me. His answer was yes with a shocked expression. As always, he had no idea or comprehension that his behavior contributed to the failure. Years later, after I had done a lot of forgiving, I told him that I realized I needed to apologize for my part in our failed marriage and that I had forgiven him for his part. His response was, "Oh, thanks. That was it. No apology or forgiveness for me in sight." Although I did not really expect it and found it kind of amusing. He died a couple of years ago, and I am honestly glad. He gave his second family everything he selfishly denied my 4 beautiful children. The interesting thing is that they have all forgiven him. I take credit for how amazing they are. Story 119. Ex-fiancé, about a week into us breaking up, said, X was right about you. You are a manipulator. X was a man in his 60s who sexually assaulted me when I was 16. When I told my partner what happened, X started saying I was being manipulative and trying to ruin his life. He also sexually assaulted my ex's younger brothers. We were 26 when we split, and he said this to me. I have never forgotten it. Story 120. You have no idea who you are messing with. You have no idea what I am capable of. I can kill you and make it look like an accident. This was said by my abusive ex-husband, who was in law enforcement. He then proceeded to describe exactly how he could carry out the perfect killing of me disguised as an accident. Story 121. He couldn't talk to me because he wanted to hurt me. It was then that I finally realized he had no love for me. I was either useful or a pain to him, never someone to cherish. Story 122. None of my former partners have ended our relationships without consequences. He was a terrible person who will surely end up on a true crime show one day. Story 123. You deserve so much better. I am just not willing to be better for you. Fast forward less than a month, and he is dating someone else. Story 124. Nothing in particular, but the overall vibe. The constant, subtle comparison to her ex. The persistent idea that I was not good enough in terms of educational qualifications and background, as I am a doctor. It is crazy how someone can completely erode your sense of self-worth when you gave that person everything you had. I naively thought being a great partner and as supportive as possible was what it took, but I guess you need the qualifications too. The worst part is, I do not even feel antagonistic. I just want her to be happy and find the perfect thing for her. Story 125. Not something that they said. But looking back and seeing all the selfish plotting and planning she was doing to leave me even though I did nothing wrong. She had to find herself and be on her own. Story 126. You know you'll never see success like this again. And later when I called him on it, I'm just being realistic. Every little passion I had was dumb, stupid, and totally pointless. I'd just gotten 6 photos into a small gallery in high school and sold 3 on opening night. Even the owner had never seen it before. I'm doing this because I love you. He was hitting me. I'm blue L block and I have a crippling aversion to happiness. But God forbid he had a bad day. No, see, you took those 2 birth control pills because you were drunk last night. I did not and was not. I am getting better at forgiving myself for not leaving the band sooner because I did try to break up. But he would latch on to me, stand behind my car, or otherwise prevent me from leaving. He ballooned up to twice my weight after we started dating and used it against me. I just wish I had done something sooner, called for help, or been more honest about what was going on behind the scenes. There is life and freedom after. Took many tries until my great escape. Story 127. I don't remember exactly what was said or why we were arguing, but he accused me of being manipulative because I cried. When the argument was over, it took me a while to recover, and he thought I was milking it. It haunts me because it was the moment that eventually made me realize he was a cry bully and projected his own behavior onto me. If he wasn't getting enough attention or I wasn't doing what he wanted, he would have a full crying breakdown about whatever he could think of. When I did what he wanted, he suddenly became perfectly happy again, going from a full breakdown to totally fine in 5 seconds or less, as long as I said the right things. That realization deeply shook me. It has been about 15 years, and this is the only in real-life experience I have nightmares about. The anxiety of never knowing when he was going to break down, and eventually realizing it was all fake, was really messed up. Story 128. If you leave me, I will kill you. I eventually left and am thankfully still alive. I am sure if I had stayed, he would have killed me. Do not get married to an older man when you turn 18. Story 129. She spent 6 years telling me everything she hated about her father and her ex-partners, and how men had mistreated her. I spent our entire relationship, especially toward the end, listening and trying to be the man I thought she deserved and treating her well. In our last conversation as a couple, she told me that she missed the excitement of the sexting and hookups she had with previous partners. This was confirmed the previous year when I caught her sexting one of those partners. At the time, I was making every effort to improve our sex life, whereas she put in none. That comment made me feel like I was a comfortable pillow to hug for 6 years rather than someone she actually loved. It was painful. Story 130. Oof, I've got multiple experiences from different exes. One in particular said, "If you're so sad, why don't you just kill yourself?" She also told me I wouldn't go anywhere in life because I dropped out of college due to financial issues. I got some petty revenge though. She had me blocked on Facebook for years. One day I noticed that she unblocked me. So I sent her a message that said, "Remember when you told me I was going nowhere in life? I have a job making $100,000 per year now. You don't get to block me for years, then decide to snoop on my life." Then I blocked her. Looking back, I realized I put up with a lot of emotional and even physical abuse. She punched me in the stomach at a bar because she thought I was flirting with another girl. Another ex cheated on me with her guy friend. Yep, the classic "you don't have to worry about him" story. I was gaslit into believing her cheating was my fault because I couldn't trust her. So she might as well be the girl I thought she was. Then she proceeded to justify it further by saying he was molested by his sister. So she wanted him to know that not all touch was bad touch. That one practically left my jaw on the floor. Who does that? I'm so glad I have a wife now who genuinely loves me. 11 years and still going. So if anyone is having relationship problems, don't let the toxic ones tear you down or hold you back. Don't give them second chances. You'll eventually find a good one. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.